Hello everyone, Guillaume Letzman here, host of the E-Commerce Wizards podcast, where I feature leaders in e-commerce and business. Today's guest is Antony Kattukaran, CEO and co-founder of Tagalys, and today's topic is why merchandising is important for your e-commerce store. All right, Antony, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much, Guillaume. I'm looking forward to it.
So you've built an application there that's specializing in merchandising, so you have quite a lot of, hours spent trying to master the topic. Let's dive right into it. So why merchandising is important for your e-commerce store, and of course, some best practices, tips, advices. Let's get started.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, before we go into why e-commerce is important, let's talk about, I guess, the fundamentals, right? In today's day and age, e-commerce is just another channel for a lot of our customers. The kind of customers that want merchandising typically already have an offline presence, right? So when they have an offline presence, they already have an understanding about the kind of user experience they want to deliver to their audience, visitors walking into their store. Now, the same visitors that have been visiting their stores, they're the ones that actually want to also come online because it's more convenient. So while most customers in this sort of segment already have online stores, trying to also deliver the sort of user experience in terms of what they see when they're walking down the aisle, that's what merchandising does for you. And if you look at most e-commerce stores at a certain amount of scale, they would have a couple of hundred categories out there. And if I look at each category to be an aisle, you want each aisle to kind of match the sort of user journey experience that you want to deliver for your brand. And for example, some brands may want to show things based on print. Some may want to show things based on color. So how do you keep people engaged in an online store? That's what merchandising does for you.
Agreed. Very important. Okay. So that's the first part. And I agree from my own experience that this is part of the engagement aspect. You go to a website, do you feel like it's easy to find what you're looking for? Are you interested by the merchandise that you see right away when you start browsing? It's like not interesting collections. So it can change, especially if you're a first-time visitor, how interesting you think this website is, and if you stay or not. If you're a returning visitor, you're familiar with the brand, you will forgive more a messy merchandising and inventory presentation that you'll dig for the right value that you might find somewhere in all this. Now, what are some of the best practices in this regard?
So again, when it comes to e-commerce specifically, there's one thing you can do, right? So when you start showcasing merchandise on a category, you want to also consider the availability of, for example, sizes. So there's a lot of best practices by vertical, but one of the things we see a lot of fashion customers do is you don't want to just show things that match your brand story online. So it could be a color story, but you also want to make sure the products you're showcasing in the color story have enough size availability or a size curve. So when you click on the first product, you have 7 sizes to engage from versus just one size that's remaining in stock, right? So that's kind of one of the basic requirements if you're looking into fashion, which is where I think we have the most experience so far to understand. The other things we kind of see in customers also do is merchandising is a mix of not just what your visitors want, it's also what the business wants sometimes. So while you may think your audience wants to kind of, engage in a category by color, you may want to, for example, push up certain high margin products because you have that data with you. So those sorts of business insights, which is not available in the data, can also be something which is considered when you're merchandising on top, because you have profitability, revenue, top line also going up. So merchandising should be a mix of both what I think the business wants and what I think your customers or visitors want to get the best impact down the line.
Okay. And you're talking about having multiple sizes and so on. Would you show products that are sort of out of stock, part of that experience for merchandising?
Absolutely. So great question. So I think when you say merchandising, every question we would talk about, I'm going to say it depends because every brand is different, right? So when you look at, say, out of stock products, showing them on top, we have seen customers that want to push out of stock products on top because some of them think that's a way to kind of build the brand, build the hype, and they have a pre-order option. So in that situation, it makes sense having things on top, right? But if it's going to be a product which just comes and goes out in, let's say, 2 weeks, you're never going to get it back. In a business like that, you may never want to show things which are out of stock on top. So having the flexibility to kind of make sure merchandising also matches your business, your supply chain, that's also what's considered in a good tool which can do all of this together.
Right. And another variation of what you just said, we see also businesses that you can order an out of stock, but there will be a fulfillment delay. They notify you, okay, this is out of stock. You can proceed with a checkout. You'll have like 8 to 10 weeks shipping delay. Are you okay with this? Yes or
Right.
no? So it's connected to
Right.
their ERP system. Typically, they know when they'll get a new shipment from overseas and
Absolutely.
so on.
And the reverse of that again, Guillaume, is the pre-order option, right? So things which are not yet available today, you can put them on top and kind of create the buzz and coming soon, get pre-order things as well. So both ways.
Put a deposit. Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Works great. The car industry right now is pretty crazy with this. A $500 car deposit, and they just collect deposits just to have some kind of commitment from the customer, even if it's nothing in terms of percentage versus the whole order.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's next? So merchandising, you can choose which product goes at the top. Maybe it's a bestseller, higher margin. You talk about size, out of stock. What else can we control or should we care about?
So again, I think different merchants have different sort of requirements, but it's humanly impossible to, when you look at an e-commerce store, you have like 500 categories, right? So it's the two things you should be considering. One is how can you do this most efficiently? And second is how can you do it most effectively? So what we've seen our customers do is when you have 500 collections or categories, there's a certain sort of like a common merchandising strategy for a set of collections together. You may have 10 new arrivals collections and you want to kind of merge them a certain way, right? So being able to kind of group merchandising into certain sort of global settings to apply them to sets of collections allows you to kind of standardize merchandising to a family. And then there's a 20% or like a 10% of the collections where they do want to do it individually, right? So for example, if the bestsellers collection, some merchants may want to sort it based on 3 days based of revenue, right? Some merchants may want to consider 30 days of revenue, depending again on the vertical. So again, having the flexibility to choose the right sort of analytics for your business based on your sell-through rates is a requirement, I feel. Like one size does not fit all.
Yeah, so you could have some pages or categories or brands that you sort perhaps manually, the most important one, and the other one you sort of leave it to an automation tool with a little bit of supervision and training.
Well, you should have the ability to have a tool that provides automation by default. If you want to limit the automation, you can kind of control whether it's 50%, 60% automation. And even in the last mile, even if you have automation, if you want to tweak one product, you should be able to do that easily.
Yeah, to override, everything is automated, but you can override the automation with a manual input.
What's also important is for the kinds of customers that are in this size and scale, the kinds of users that come to use it are more design centric as well. They do have a very good sense of design, and having a tool that is also easier for them to understand, because even though merchandising is full of analytics, you want to have an interface that matches the user persona to get the most out of the tool, right? So they can start using it to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
So all of that comes into play.
Right now, what we see mostly is just like rule-based stuff, sort of if this, then do that, if that. And the merchant sets a lot of rules, or the developer sets a lot of rules. And those can be, of course, changed over time to evolve, and then they could be manually overwritten. But I do believe where this is going eventually will be some machine learning that you sort of teach the AI what you want, and then it will more and more do this automatically rather than just setting manually rules. That's a future down the road in a few years.
Absolutely. And that's definitely the vision that I would say that all best-in-class companies looking forward is, like, as we speak right now, I think everyone's working on collecting enough of data to start building intelligent systems to make decisions for us in the end, right? So that's the key of what everyone's doing right now. But that is going to be eventually become the future when you have enough data to make those decisions.
Okay, so where should merchants care about merchandising? There's, of course, the product listing page. You have a category listing page, and you have a home page. Is there any other places where merchandising happen?
So I think merchandising, it can happen and should happen in pretty much every part of the visitor journey. I think how much of time you invest in that merchandising effort is, I would say, kind of correlational to the actual sell-through rate through the channel, right? So if you're saying search, typically 10% of your audience is going to search. If that 10% equates, let's say 30% of your revenue or 40% of revenue, yes, it makes sense spending time inside of that. But there are certain categories which not many people search enough, right? They actually want to browse a lot more. So I think that defines which are the channels. And once they search, and again, after that, depending on the kind of vertical, if it's fashion, nobody buys the first product they see. Like nobody does. You want to look at one and you want to consider 4 more products, right? So you want to have the right set of recommendations. So I think recommendations also should be something which the merchant has complete control, because as far as, again, what we've seen across the market so far, even within fashion, what is perceived to be similar changes from different kinds of verticals in fashion itself. For example, if you were a company that were selling, let's say, t-shirts, right? What you may want to show in similar products could be t-shirts from the same brand, or maybe t-shirts from the same different colors, for example, but the same t-shirt type. But if you were a company selling jeans, your recommendations may be the same style but different fits, for example, right? Because fit is make a big. So what the user wants, the customer actually knows, like the merchants know, and also being able to consider that requirement to kind of configure the tool to then also use that market requirement is possible. So I think all 3 funnels, it's really important to have the business to set the right configuration to merchandise.
Right. And I do see this as something evolving right now, again, from the traditional just rule-based, if this, then this, for recommended product and cross-selling, to evolving again with what you're suggesting and new technology made available to e-commerce merchants, such as automatic image recognition from, again, the beginning of AI being usable in a commercial setting, that you could ask, show me similar. But what does similar mean? Is that similar colors, similar patterns on the clothes, or is it actually similar cuts? So, but with different colors and different patterns. So right now it will need some input from the user, but you could very soon have this kind of automated on the merchant side, that you have an AI tool with image recognition. There's some pretty good one already from Adobe that is available with Adobe Sensei, which is available with Adobe Commerce, also known as Magento, formerly Magento Enterprise. And you can see that also when you go on Adobe Stock to buy stock images. You can, not everybody knows this, but you can upload an image and you say, show me similar images. And then it will detect this and show you a lot of similar images. It saves a ton of time when you're trying to find stock images. So because AI can now recognize patterns and images and right away sort through the whole catalog for you and show you similar stuff. So this is something that is possible nowadays, but is still new, that if some merchant implements this now, they would have a competitive advantage, because very few brands have this, or have this in an automated way that is efficient and effective, as you were saying, because a lot of brands who have some semblance of this do it manually by just tagging their products, which is super labor intensive, not very scalable. So if you have image detection, image recognition, which is available commercially now, and you implement this, you can be ahead of competition for the time being.
Yes, and a lot of, I think, merchants are now leveraging image, especially in fashion space, right? So image recognition is like a requirement, I think, because they're seeing the amount of time they can save at scale.
Exactly. Like you're talking about a store with 500 categories. If you have, I imagine, at least 10 to 100 products per category, that's becoming quite a catalog pretty quickly, a 50K catalog, or maybe even more than that, 100,000 products or more. So for sure, you will want automation as much as possible in there.
Absolutely.
This episode is brought to you by MageMontreal. If a business wants a powerful e-commerce online store that will increase their sales, or to move piled up inventory to free up cash reserves, or to automate business processes to reduce human processing errors, our company, MageMontreal, can do that. We've been helping e-commerce stores for over a decade. Here's the catch. We're specialized and only work on the Adobe Magento e-commerce platform, also known as Adobe Commerce. We're among only a handful of certified companies in Canada. We do everything Magento related. If you know someone who needs design, support, training, maintenance, or a new e-commerce website, email our team at support@MageMontreal.com or go to MageMontreal.com. That's MAGE Montreal.com.
So a bit of a shotgun question. Anything else regarding that merchandising and designing the client's experience as what kind of product they see and what's being presented to them.
No, so again, merchandising, when we talk about visual merchandising, like there's of course products that specialize in that, but I also feel like where this is going to be heading to, and depending on the size and scale of the merchant, merchandising is also going to be done by segments, right? So in other words, how you want to showcase products to, like, say, new versus returning visitors will be a lot different. How you want to show product to somebody sitting in New York in a dresses category versus, say, San Diego in a dresses category is going to be different, right? And that's again becoming a requirement for our customers to sort of in some way ensure we use a lot of localized analytics, localized inventory, localized data to make it a lot more effective for them. So it is, like I said, a requirement. And again, with online, you can start doing this in a very, very effective manner and scale.
Yeah, because when you have data for a returning customer, what they like, the other customer, you don't have data, so you don't know what they like yet. So they need to give you typically at least 3 clicks before the AI can start to make any recommendation that makes sense, that you can see, okay, they're browsing, home hardware or something like this. And then say, okay, man, we'll start suggesting stuff from this and maybe suggest a little bit of other topics just to see if anything else interests them, and not sort of stay stuck in this silo and never discover the other interests of that person. But of course, we'll mainly push this and then start to get to know the profile of that person and what else they're interested in, especially by presenting high-level categories.
In the e-com space, I think there are different layers to it. Like you said, it starts with like merching, where you're either doing it at a store level or a segment level. And rightfully said, afterwards, like if you look at even Amazon today, the second time you visit the Amazon like website, right, it's already showing your entire personalized recommendations up front, right, to get you back into the same user journey which you left earlier.
Yeah.
So you start with something that's worked at a certain scale, and once you understand the user data, then you basically let personalization take over. So they all kind of flow in together. Merching starts first, but goes towards personalization in the end.
Yeah, and the products that you've already viewed, I like this as well. It can lead to some sale as the person's browsing and might even have a hard time to find the product again in a catalog, if in a very large catalog, if they did not add it to their favorite or something like this, or add to cart to then sort the cart later.
These are, in fact, I know you make it sound so simple right now, but like these are basics, right? But you still see a lot of people that don't have these basics in place, which is just at least showing me what I just clicked on, like a recent history. It just helps me find that, because like you said, a catalog of 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, I won't remember how I saw that, but I just know I like something on the store. Where is that?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So having that available just makes you kind of kickstart that user journey again and get the user engaged.
Totally. Cool. Anything else you'd like to cover for this topic today?
Yeah, so again, in the merchandising space, I think it's more than just the products, I feel. So there's a lot, like we spoke about segmentation, but there are a lot of other things that I feel like reviews as well as a very important part of merchandising. Because now in like today's world, day and age, if you're buying something online, people are going to kind of immediately look for social proof, especially if you're a new visitor or first-time customer, right? So trying to push up social proof makes it, again, that conversion rate a slightly higher chance of going up. So trying to ensure you can also include reviews data while merchandising kind of ties in one more end of that entire circle, right?
Yeah.
Acquisition and retention.
Yeah, and if you have third-party review on your own website, it can increase even more that trust that those are legitimate reviews because they're verified reviews.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, if the person needs to feel that you're a high traffic store, a bit like, not as much as Amazon, of course, nobody's as big as Amazon, but they need to feel it's a high traffic site, so that those reviews are probably from real people and not the merchant promoting his own greatness of whatever he's selling. So they need to feel it's authentic reviews and that they can trust the reviews there.
Exactly. So going back to the original question of why merchandising in today's day and age, if you don't merchandise with all of these considerations, in today's day and age, you can spend a lot of money, I think, bringing visitors to your store, but it's easy to lose them in a couple of seconds if you don't have all of these signals kind of pop up, because every company is like fighting for the attention of your consumer today, right? If you don't get them engaged in your store in the first 30, 40, 50 seconds, you're going to lose them. So leverage as much data as you have in your online store and use all of that to kind of merge and showcase what's actually trending in your store.
Yeah, and if they do give you 30, 40 seconds, you're already on the right track. So then just make sure that they stay interested afterward. But it would mean that the landing is interesting enough, so they give you more than 10 seconds. And then they keep browsing a little bit more, and then you have to stay interesting, so they stay more than 30, 40 seconds, and they start shopping for real. So it is part of a critical aspect of, does this, let's say, if we're talking about the launch of a new e-commerce store, does this store get left off or not? Because
Absolutely.
you need to send traffic to it, but then is that, of course, has to be targeted, relevant traffic, sent to the right page, the right offer, the right section. But then do you get lift off or not? Is that is the website interesting for them? Is it presented correctly? Am I finding what I need? Does it address my concerns that, oh, I might order the wrong thing and then I'm stuck with a return? So it's just simple things that is all the information that's necessary for a decision present on the web page and easy to access and so on.
I mean, what you just said, like all of these things, when they come together, that is when conversion goes up. It's not just because of one thing of like called merchandising, right? It starts right from marketing, relevant traffic coming in, right products in front, right recommendations, right process, right user experience. Yes.
Yep.
So
it's a chain. It's a chain link. It's a chain link, and if one is not working, you lose, and it will be you'll get exponential return on this if you get all of them right, versus if you have just 2 or 3 right, that then you interest 2 or 3% about out of 100 that you send to the website.
Yep, exactly. So it's when this comes together, that's when conversion goes up. No single app drives conversion up. It's all of us together.
Yep, chain link. You're creating an ecosystem here, chain link system.
Exactly.
Cool. Any last thought to wrap up today's episode?
No, I mean, like I said, it's an exciting space to be in right now. I think merch is, especially with COVID-19, a lot of, I think, brands are embracing online like really, really fast. And a lot of them, I think, already have an understanding of what their customers want in the offline world. That's where they spend the most of their time. So merching is becoming all the more important today because they're trying to unify the brand experience both online and offline, right? So definitely an exciting space to be in and a lot of collaborations to be built out here.
All right. Well, Antony, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Email, I mean, or the website, chat. I mean, I'm available on LinkedIn, but my email is antony@tagalys.com. So that's probably the easiest way to get to me.
All right. Well, thanks for being here today, Antony.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.